Academy. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the test channel and some things that we've changed in the Fantasy Grounds Academy Discord, and just sort of some general information about the community and some of the resources and tools. So, one thing I wanted to mention was that the test channel is kind of a little bit more for, I would say, intermediate and advanced users. So, if you're uncertain what it's for, I wouldn't mess with it too much. But essentially, to get to the test channel, you will go to the launcher. And by the way, this is the test channel launcher. This is not the official launcher yet, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, I guess. But this is the new interface and how it looks in the launcher, and it kind of matches the website. So they've gone a long ways to try to update the look and the feel of Fantasy Grounds. So if you haven't been around in a while, it's starting to come along pretty nicely. So the next step here is if you go into the settings, and if you are kind of familiar at least with Fantasy Grounds and you go into advanced settings, you can change it to test channel, which allows you to download all the test files. So it's a completely separate instance of Fantasy Grounds. So this is ideal for people who are writing extensions, for people who are creating themes, and for people who are developing their own rule set. This is a way that you can use Fantasy Grounds to test your content without impacting your regular games. So it's a completely separate thing. It doesn't impact your ongoing standard, your regular version or the live version. This is kind of a public test kind of version, and it's also set up so that it's separate, so you don't have to worry about it corrupting. The only thing I could say, the caveat here, is that when you do change the test and you update Fantasy Grounds, it's going to have to update it's going to be like re-downloading everything. So just know that in the beginning. So mine took like 20 minutes to download everything. But once you're in the test channel, you can always, when you're done with it and you're no longer need it, you can switch back to live. And that way you'll be able to go back to what you had. So I would treat it as a completely separate instance of Fantasy Grounds, and this is a good way to do that without having to have a separate computer. So this is kind of what it's for. This is mainly just to test features out. I'm going to go ahead and start up an instance of this. I'm going to use the D&D 5e rule set because that's all I have to compare to as far as knowledge and what I'm familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and take the, I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then go to launch Fantasy Grounds, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a test campaign. So I'm going to go to create campaign, and then I'm going to pick the 5e rule set. What I'm going to do is type test session or something like that, and then I'm going to put 5e as the prefix so I know what it is. But if you're working on a project or some sort of extension or whatever, and you want to make sure it's compatible with Fantasy Grounds, this is what you want to do. And then as far as this stuff goes, I'm just going to be on a LAN connection, so I don't need a password, and I'm going to hit start. So this should launch me into the newer interface. There's a few things they've been updating, and if you want to know more about these things and these changes, you want to subscribe and go to the thread on the official forums. So you have to have an account, and you want to go to the forums, and in there's a section called the laboratory. So this is where you would go to look at information, and then here are the latest developer rule set updates and stuff they're working on. So they're fixing stuff, they're working on stuff. So this is where you would report any issues that you might be having, or you may want to propose something that should be looked at. And then this is where people come and go to test things out. So if you are somebody that's like a developer, or you're writing an extension or something, this is where you want to go to test your product out before you release it to public, if you have the time and the audacity to do so. So this doesn't break anything on the test channel. So if something breaks there, like if you have an extension that's not working right, that's what you want to test for, and you want to report it here into this channel here. And you want to reference the version you have, of course, your operating system, what you're doing, maybe have some screenshots ready in case they ask, and maybe even a zipped up campaign. So it just depends on what you're doing. But the test channel is essentially for individuals who are a little bit more advanced with Fantasy Grounds. I'm not saying you have to be an expert, but You definitely don't want to start off in the test channel because it's not fully completely done yet. It's not a done deal. It's something that, that's still in work. So it's kind of like your beta channel in a sense. So if you haven't been on Fantasy Grounds for a while, they've definitely tried their best to make it look a lot nicer, and it's really nice on the eyes. And if you use this on mobile, it's a lot more mobile friendly than it was before. And they've even went into the forums themselves and kind of themed that a little bit better, so it kind of matches the overall theme that they have already. So it's looking pretty good, pretty sharp. The other thing I wanted to mention was that when you're into these forums, you do have to be logged in. And on the test channel, if you run into any problems with a standard product, please report that, because that's important for them to go in and fix that before they release the update. So if you use the test channel, your players also have to be on the test channel if you're going to run a test game. If you're going to do a regular every week game, I don't think I would use the test channel. I'm not saying you can't, but it means that either all of you have to be on test or live. You can't be a mix and match. So just keep that in mind. So I want to go into Fantasy Grounds again, and this is essentially the new look if you haven't already seen this around the community. I'm pretty sure they're going to showcase this once it is official, but this is kind of what they have so far. Remember that this could be subject to change. There might be some things that are going to be different, so be careful with that and don't rely on it until it's officially released to public. And I'm just going to go through and I'll load like the SRD. And yeah, it's pretty snappy because I don't have a lot of extra stuff on here, so that's pretty nice. You go to the options menu. Yep, everything's nice and themed. So this looks really good. Nice frames, nice kind of dark color, but not too dark where you can't see anything. I like the toolbar down here at the bottom because it's very clean. I like that. And the color scheme is really nice. It's kind of like a gold, kind of a green, gray thing. So it looks really nice. So this is a kind of like a preliminary test that they're doing, and obviously they probably have to come up with some fixes occasionally if they're going to, stream and they're going to do stuff to, to basically to make things right and help it out. Hey, thank you for the art. Yeah, no problem, Sven. Thank you. So this is basically kind of like the test channel. It's kind of like your beta version. And like I said, I don't know exactly when this is going to be released, probably in a couple weeks or so, but it looks really nice. It's pretty clean. It's got a lot of good qualities to it. All the icons are really nicely done. I like how they've changed the font so it looks a little easier to read, and it's just got a lot of good things about it. So I want to take a look at the dice. I know they're working on some new dice, and I think once that's public, maybe they'll even have new dice sets by then. But they are working on that. Looks like they're trying to kind of update that a little bit. So they got some pretty nice stuff. Some elemental basics. So if you don't buy any of the dice, you'll at least have some of these main dice. Like here's the new Fantasy Grounds themed dice. So it looks pretty good. You got your aura dice. I like the little preview images. They're actually a little bit more true to what you'd see on the table. So that's pretty smart that they did that. And it has a background, so you have some contrast as to what it looks like. So yeah, they're really cleaning this thing up as much as they possibly can. So it looks pretty nice. I like what they're doing so far. Again, this is test channel, folks. This is not the final release. So I'm certain almost that they would, do some kind of official show, and they're going to showcase all the changes and stuff. I'm not here to go through that, but I just wanted you to know that the test channel is available for those who need it, for those who are creating like themes, extensions, or their own rule set. And don't worry too much about breaking stuff, because it's actually a separate channel. So you don't have to worry about that too much. It's if your players are going to play with you, you have to remember to change back to the live channel, or all the players have to be on the test channel. And it's a completely separate instance of Fantasy Grounds. So I wanted to also touch on some things with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. So it's no secret that we have had a big downturn in engagement lately, and it's been since COVID. So we have a combination of things going on that have impacted the community. So I wanted to assure you that we're still going. We haven't ran as many classes, but we do have a class request channel. Meta Magic for sorcerers. I'll have to check this out, but basically, um, this is the way that we typically are running classes now. Is we used to offer them and have people sign up, but what we're finding is that people will join the events and then they won't show up. So they either don't have a reminder, or they're not on Discord at the time, or when they hit interested, that's all they're thinking is that they're interested, but they don't necessarily want to go. So we had problems with that. Another thing is that we've had things for in place for like shows, like we've had guests and stuff, so we'll still be doing that. We also help the community with onboarding. We try to give you resources, so I wanted to show you a couple things that that was done recently. So in our admin info channel, we one of our admins went through and cleaned up our server, so the onboarding is a lot better. So these are some of the things that were changed that will help with the community for onboarding. And this is a kind of a nice way to, I guess this is the best way to tell you. So we don't have the role allocation channel. That is something that's going to be assigned through onboarding. So if you select a channel and all that, it gives you a tag for which rule sets you're interested in. All the users will be given have to have at least one answer to get the student role, which is the pretty much everyone role, and this will have basic access to the server and the roles of channels and stuff. They can select rule sets that you're interested in, which gives them the corresponding role. We got rid of a couple unnecessary roles and made some new ones, and most of them are really just functional. They're not really they don't really do much. They're just more cosmetic. The most basic channels are now visible to the user when they enter. They can opt into other channels if they want, and also the public channels are now accessible during different opt-in options. So this is what we've changed in our particular community server. So if you are somebody that's part of our community, then that's the changes that were made. The other thing is, like, I've been working really hard on a channel. This is called read only resources. So we have like a self-help section, which is kind of a general section for information that you may or may not find useful, including our invite link. We have a looking for games section. This is just going to push you to other resources. We don't normally host a lot of games, so if you are looking for a game, full time, there are other resources for that. The only reason that I had not put any effort into allowing games is early on we had tried it and it just became a mess. Like we had people fighting and all kinds of stuff. So we're more dedicated to education. Although we did have recently our Founders Day event. Unfortunately, that works both ways. When we want to run games, no one knows to look here because we don't offer them. But when we don't have any games and people want them, then we have to push them to another resource. So it's kind of a catch-22 on that. And then, when you first join, there's this will be our join welcome channel. And then we have a streaming announcer for anyone that's affiliated with the Fantasy Grounds Academy that has a streamer account, but you have to use Fantasy Grounds as the name. Otherwise, it's not going to announce. We had to filter it out because people were playing, you know, Call of Duty and such, and we don't want those announced on here. So we made it exclusive to Fantasy Grounds. A lot of people use Dungeons and Dragons instead, which I understand. You're trying to get more people on your channel, but when it comes to announcements in our Discord, I don't want every random game out there. Also, we have images and formatting resources. So if you ever wanted to know the sizing for tokens and maps and all that kind of stuff, that's what this section's for. And it's a bunch of links, resources, tips, things that are related to working with images in Fantasy Grounds. The next is audio resources. So if you want to incorporate audio, this is kind of a collection of different companies, different software, different options, including a very nice spreadsheet that has details about all these different options. So very important section if you're going to get into doing audio. The next section is mostly dedicated to maps. So if you want to find resources to get maps, or a third-party app to make maps if you don't want to use the Fantasy Grounds interior map making program. There's a lot of resources here for that. Just keep in mind that there are size requirements and formatting and such, so these will be useful, but the tendency is in most cases that most users will make their maps way too big, and that's a common thing. So if you've done that already and you've made that same um, done that same thing, then essentially you'll learn eventually that large maps are not as effective as a couple smaller ones, in other words. But that's just my opinion. You can do whatever you like. So for campaign management, this is just stuff for conversion and portals for keeping track of your worlds. More like world building type stuff. And then there's one for converting modules. I've included some third-party links and some tips in here, and also some AI tools that I've built over the months. These would be like if you were going to make text conversions. A lot of these are centered around the 5th edition rule set, but I have one here for Tales of the Valiant. There's one for a hex crawler, hexploration type thing, and then there is a Pathfinder one, and then there's some other tools that are helpful for conversions. But what these do is give you as kind of a starting point, and then you prompt, and then you kind of build your content for whatever rule set these are for. I have other ones too that I didn't list here, but I think most people either do their own thing or you don't use this, so that's totally fine. But there are a mixed bag of tools in here to help you with your building content. The next thing is the Fantasy Grounds Effects Automation. So this is tools for that sort of thing. This links to the official Atlassian guide, and then there are some other things that you can do and look at. And I also made a tool for this. It's not 100% accurate, but it does help in some cases. But it wasn't completely correct, so I actually took it down because, well, I have the link here still, but it was given some errors, but it was getting close. Like 90% of the time it was right, but there were cases where it didn't quite make the code or the effects properly. So I haven't really pushed this too much, but it gets you pretty close. So if you know kind of what you're doing with the automation strings, this will get you closer. But this one is for Fantasy Grounds, for 5e, Pathfinder, and I believe Cyberpunk. And what it does is it pulls on the information from these links, which is the Fantasy Grounds Atlassian links, and then it pulls off of like an SRD or OGL, whatever is available for free on the rule set. So that's how those were built. And then your essential troubleshooting is just a place you can go when you're having trouble with lag, or someone can't connect to your table, whatever. These are just general resources. Your best bet is to get a hold of customer service, of course, and to request help from there. But if you're not getting enough feedback, or perhaps you're having a different issue or whatever, we can try to help you here too. Just remember, anything to do with accounts, money, purchases, all that stuff, that all needs to be handled through the Fantasy Grounds official Discord or their customer service portal. Get used to using the Atlassian guide. It's pretty useful. It has rule set specific stuff, then it has platform stuff, but then it also has like troubleshooting, style guides, all those different things for creating content and for becoming a publisher if you want to join the team of conversion folks and that. So, but basically that's how our Discord is laid out. So we have kind of like this important information, which is our announcements, official Smiteworks announcements. We have a donations area. If you guys are inclined to donate, or if you want to join our team and help us out, that's perfectly fine. Our commons area is where the most information is. We have a GM section. We have Ask the Experts, which is kind of like our customer service section. We have a class request area, so I'm going to get back to this person soon and find out what they're trying to do. It looks like they want to learn how to program the meta magic effects for sorcerers and all others. I don't think there is anything specific, depending on what it does. Let's see. So Fantasy Grounds, this is our meme place. We have a forums type link here. Streaming announcer is where all of our latest videos will be going, and then we have a voice channel. Then we have rule set specific areas like D&D, Paizo, Traveler, Modifius, Savage Worlds, other rule sets, and World of Darkness. I might roll that up into other rule sets because it hasn't been very active. And then we have a Savage Worlds channel. So, and then we have our classrooms. That's where we hold events when we do have classes. And then our staff channels are for our volunteers. And then we have some community affiliate links. So if you guys want your community linked here, let us know. But we have a few here. We got like the main Fantasy Grounds server. We got Rob 2E server. This is the Filthy Pig, which is Oceania, Australia, kind of New Zealand type area. Here's a Savage Mojo server, Grim Press, and a Spanish one from in Spain. So these are just some of the resources that we have available. So hopefully that's helpful. And we are also going to start doing these giveaways. So we have a giveaway channel that we're going to work on and put that out in the public once we test it more. And I think I'm going to do a giveaway soon. We were supposed to do some on Founders Day weekend, but we really didn't have the engagement, and I didn't see any point in doing it. So I still have a lot of keys to give away. We'll see what happens. So anyways, that's just kind of a community update. Also, our Patreon, I just published that out. We talked about some of the things we're doing online with the videos, and also, we work with SmiteWorks indirectly. I mean, we don't necessarily answer them, but we do definitely communicate with them and make sure that we're in line with what they're doing, and so we're not crossing streams there. And then the other thing is, working with publishers and people who make content. And if you want your Fantasy Grounds Forge content, on the channel and get some more eyes on it, get a hold of me. I'm Layron from the Fantasy Grounds Academy. I'll try to get you in, and we'll do a show. I mean, so I'm not busy. I got time for it. So the date is August 1st, 2024. This is getting towards the third quarter.